So Judy, thank you so much for taking a few minutes today. We really appreciate it. Maybe a good place to start is just let us know, who you are, your organization, and a little bit about the organization. That'd be great.
Sure. So, Judy Briggs, I'm Vice President of Finance for Revenue Cycle. My hospital, I'm a one-system hospital, Regional One Health in Memphis, Tennessee. We are an academic facility. We're the safety net facility. We're the level 1 trauma center. We're the only BARN accredited unit for a 150-mile radius. We have a very, very busy neonatology. We don't treat pediatrics, but we have a very high-risk OB. So we deliver those babies. They stay with us until they're discharged, but we don't treat peds after that.
Yeah, well, thank you for what you're doing. And it's healthcare is an incredibly challenging time, and especially, hospitals that are in your sort of position when demographically where you're at, there's so much responsibility, and yet we look how tasked financially hospitals have working in the revenue cycle. What was it that interested you in Connex? Because I know as an executive, you got so many different options, and yet your time is limited with regards to finding information, aligning with peers. What interested you in Connex when we first had a conversation?
When Connex first started talking to me about coming to sessions, going online with sessions, the interaction with my peers was very, very important, obviously, but also connecting me to the right vendors, being able for me to find that niche vendor to help me find my solution. So that has been extremely helpful. And then the think tanks. You think you're the only one suffering. You think you're the only one that's dealing with this situation with a payer. And you come to sessions or you talk to your peers, you get connections with your peers. They're the exact same thing. They may be in 3 states over, but they're suffering through the same issues. And then you get to talk about how can we resolve these together. We're not the only facility dealing with this. How can we join forces? How can we do things differently? How can we combat the things that we're facing? Because our job is to treat the patients. Our jobs are to meet that patient where their needs are. And in our situation as a level 1 trauma center, those patients, they're flying in, the air wing flies them in from the helicopter. We get them from ambulances. Our interstates intersect in Memphis, so we have a lot of traffic. So when we get those patients, and then the outcomes, those patients walk out of our doors. Those patients are cared for, and then the struggle to be paid. We've taken all the great care, we got the great outcomes, we met them at the time of their greatest need, and then the struggles to have that payer try to deny that claim or try to stall that claim. So those are the things that when you hear others, while it doesn't necessarily help you get paid faster, but you're like, you struggle too. I think I'm the only one struggling, but we're all struggling. And this is a difficult time for all facilities the guidelines are changing, the requirements are changing, but the patient needs the care. And the providers are, I've got to take care of this patient. This patient is going to leave this facility in a much better shape than when they got here. And then it comes to us. And then our job is, how do you make sure the money comes in and your facility is paid for everything it deserves?
Yeah, well, it's the concept of horsepower when you're talking about your peers, right? Because you're the top of the food chain where you're at. Where do you go to find those answers? And it really is, it's comforting to know that you have a place. Because many of the organizations are broad, open, where you don't really know your peers. What we hear, just being here at Connexion quite often is it feels like a safe community where you can actually share those things which you're passionate about, which you might not be as readily desired to share in a large, broad community where you don't know your peers. Is that something that you've experienced?
I have experienced that. I mean, the connections I've made, even on this trip, I've met new people that I haven't met before that have similar issues. And like I said, with our facility being right there on the interstates, we get a lot of accidents. We have a lot of out-of-state Medicaid that I don't know a lot about Illinois Medicaid. I don't know a lot about Georgia Medicaid. But some of the struggles I've had, Missouri Medicaid, I was able to talk with someone that's in Missouri, and some of the issues and how she could help me overcome those problems. So it's very important. And you have your peers in your state, but while they are your peers and you do work together to help solve problems within your state, many of these things are more than state issues. Yeah. They are statewide. They're federal issues. The Medicare HMOs, those are federal issues. Those are not state-driven. Your individual Medicaids may be state-driven, but there's similar problems throughout. So it's really nice to be able to get to know peers, get to know people that you can call, in a month from now, that either I'm going to be on a call with them or I can call them directly and say, we talked about this. How are you dealing with this?
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to one of our members yesterday who, same thing, similar position with you, been with the organization for 15 years. And he was talking to one of his peers who's in a completely different state, who was talking to him about some regulatory stuff that he had never thought of, right? And he is a thought leader himself, right? So, those are the nuggets that we love that come out of these peer relationships. But you also mentioned something else, that we're also very careful because your time is incredibly valuable, and I know that you're constantly getting inundated with vendors reaching out to you, and people leaving emails and phone calls, and maybe if you could talk through that process, what that was like when you first went through discovery with Andrew, as we look to solve your problems and needs. And I know you've got a recent case study. Maybe you could walk through that and what the life cycle was like with that relationship.
So it was really nice having that conversation, because you were able to, with Andrew, I was able to say, these are the things that we struggle with today, and these are the things that we're looking forward to working on in the next 18 months, the next year, whatever the case may be. And then he's able to say, well, have you looked at this particular vendor or this particular vendor? Because sometimes you get in a hole because you go to your local THA meeting, your local HFMA meeting, or a vendor finds you on LinkedIn. So you get these just anonymous phone calls that you don't know anything about a vendor. No one's vetted them for you. No one knows what's going on. And then you have to go through this erroneous process of trying to figure out, is this going to be a good fit for me? Whereas when we talk with Andrew, and he brings ideas, and he brings different, have you thought about, is this going to be a problem for you? Are you going to work on this in the next year? You're like, oh, well, yeah, my plate's full, but that's something I might need to think about. So then the connection with a vendor that is for my niche and for what I need, and that is really important. And then when you meet with them here at the conference, and you're able to, you put a face with the name, and so then when you get back and there's a connection, and you're gonna, oh yes, I set a meeting up yesterday. 2 weeks from today, we're gonna set a meeting up. We're gonna talk, because I'm looking for someone to do that particular thing, and it kind of helps guide you into a vendor relationship.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I think you're now, you just signed with one of our vendors.
I did.
Yeah.
I have 2 of your vendors that I'm working with right now. And it was by happenstance that I got one of your vendors, but we had been talking about doing, and I realize it's 2024, but our facility didn't have a patient payment portal. So, we expected our patients to find a stamp, go to the post office to mail that check into us, and I personally, and probably you too, that's not going to happen in my world. If I can't pay electronic, you may not ever get my check.
Yeah, I'm not sure I even have any stamps.
Yeah, I don't know. And to find my way to the post office, So we started on this journey, and we kind of got stopped by our patient accounting system, but we reached back out, and I reached out to Andrew and I said, I know one of the vendors we talked to was one that you had mentioned, but I cannot for the life of me. And immediately got us connected, and we almost have the thing ready. So, and I met with him while we were here just to make sure everything's going along the path. And it worked out great. I'm also working with another one of your vendors to do a coding audit. It's been on the plate every day. It's like, I need to get to this, I need to get to this. But life gets in the way sometimes when you get to work, and other problems pop up. So I got a call from Andrew. It's like, what are you looking at? What are you needing? I'm like, I'm needing a coding audit. It's been spectacular. They are wonderful. I met with them. They've already worked on my audits, got some results already. The reporting back to us has been fabulous, and they're going to be doing an additional audit for us. And those are the kind of relationships you need to build. As I tell the vendors that I work with, I don't want a vendor, I want a partner. And if you can't be a partner with my hospital and to understand my needs, then you're really not the right one for me. And having Connex help me get to different selection of vendors really has been a partnership that I really enjoyed working through.
Yeah, well, it's, that's such a crowded space. A lot of people doing that when you're talking about coding audits. There are so many companies out there. So trying to find someone, to your point, that you can really align with, that's going to be a good partner. Again, because you can look at that person and say, hey, there's 20 people behind you. Every relationship might have a little, ebb and flow. We need someone we can trust and work with. So we're so grateful we were able to help in that process. Just last question. If you were talking to Judy before Judy became a member with Connex, what advice would you give Judy?
I would say for sure to join up with Connex because of the relationships. I feel comfortable talking with Andrew. I feel comfortable talking to Ray when he calls to say, can I set you up with these meetings? What's going on? And it's not the overwhelming vendor calling you every day. I called you 6 months ago. Don't you remember? I don't remember. You know how many phone calls I get? Do you know how many emails I get from vendors? Sure. This really puts in, these are the things I need help with, not a vendor coming to me saying, I can help solve your problem. Well, you don't know that is my problem. Whereas when you talk with Andrew and you're able to say, these are the processes I'm struggling, these are the things that we have set for our next year's budget, these are the expectations that the organization has put on us from a revenue cycle perspective for us to meet, I need someone in that space to help me. And that is what has been so remarkable about this relationship.
Well, Judy, thank you so much. We know you're busy and really appreciate the time sitting down with us.
Well, thank you.